Hey guys, Sandy here, and today I am working on day 5 of my December daily, and today is the 9th, so I'm a little bit behind. Still don't know what I'm doing on the back of this title page yet, but that's okay. That's just going to be something pretty. Day 1 is finished. Day 2 is finished with lots of journaling. Day 3, day with no journaling. Day 4 spreads 2 pages and journaling on a tag. So I have our advent calendars this year pictured. I did some tags, put the journaling on a tag, and then I included the calendar. And this is the first year that I've included a calendar. I had never done one previously. And I wonder if these are pens. Did I just pencil these in? Oh, no, but I actually pinned them in. Okay, perfect. So just like stuff that has been going on, and I still have to go back and look and see what else happened last week. Just little things like shopping and mailing Christmas cards, stuffing envelopes, cookie baking day, all that kind of thing. So that'll be there, and then we get to day 5, which will be the back of this and an insert, but I'm not exactly sure which insert yet, but it won't be one of these pre-made things. So let's see what I can do. Alrighty, so I am going to repeat the theme of circles, which is what I did on the title page. I had circles, so I figured it was about time to bring some more in. And then I was really going heavy with the circles here on this layout. And then I decided, you know what, if I have circles on the title page, I'm probably going to want circles throughout the entire project album here, so I shouldn't put as many as I have. So instead of 3 clusters of circles, which was what my original intent was going to be, I just have 2 clusters, and I'm happy with that. This coaster says eat, drink, and be merry, and I thought it would be perfect, like absolutely perfect. I pulled it off of the give and take table at the Secret Not Secret Kit Club retreat. I believe it was my friend Amber that put it up there, so thanks for the coaster, Amber. I just winked. Not that you could see it, but I winked at you. Now, this coaster, when I originally saw it, I thought it would be perfect to document the menu planning portion, but I really, for some reason, just really didn't want to talk about the menu today. Not exactly sure why that is, but I definitely wanted to talk about the Christmas baking, so I figure this works, just as well. So these little epoxy holly and berries go right on top of the coaster. I wanted to add a little bit more decoration to it. And then I go back and forth working on both sides of the page because, again, another spread, kind of crazy. I just talked on the 4th about sometimes I have spreads and sometimes I just have one side. Sometimes it could just be a card. I've had days where the top half of the page protector is one day and the bottom half is another day. So kind of crazy that the 4th and the 5th are both going to be spreads. But that's because basically the first part of the 5th is just decoration because it's the back of that calendar. So I'm going to add on these floral stickers from Echo Park. They are super, super beautiful floral stickers. And then I'm making sure to add a whole bunch of adhesive to the back of these circles. These are not going to be in a page protector, so I really want to make sure that they stick. I want to make sure that they're not going to fall off with normal handling by turning the page. That is probably the main reason why I do not do much out of the pocket or out of the page scrapbooking in my normal albums. The normal albums get looked through a lot more than the Christmas albums do, and I just don't want anything to fall apart. The Christmas albums, I feel like, are like these delicate, special little things. So even though there are some things I don't do to the Christmas album, like I don't decorate the outside, even though there have been some beautiful, beautiful outside albums that I've seen and want to do, I just don't do it. So yeah, all that to say, lots of adhesive going on these little stickies right here. So I feel like it needs a little bit of something. I feel like it needs a little touch of black. And I'm looking back on my pages that I've done so far, and there are little dark touches throughout. It's not a huge theme, but there are touches of black throughout. So I just want to make sure that I'm keeping up with that. So I take a Sharpie pen and just draw some messy lines around the outside of the page itself. And then I actually draw some lines on the wood grain too, because I felt like they were kind of getting lost on the page. When I originally put them on, they felt like they were like striking pieces on the page itself, and then they kind of faded away with the other stuff. So I felt like it needed a little bit of something to bring it back up into the forefront. Now, I really want to use this transparency piece. It is gold, and on the back it looks silver. Now, I could have left it transparent and on the back of the page, done something with that and had silver on the back side. I decided not to. I decided to back it, and it was a struggle figuring out what I was going to back it with. Because the pattern is so busy on top of the transparency piece, it was kind of a struggle to find a paper that kind of stood up to it and didn't like overwhelm it or get lost in it. So that took a minute, and I'm just looking at my stuff. I'm really liking these Christmas trees, which is why they are right here next to me. Again, my area is turned into a disaster. I don't know what it is. Usually I can scrapbook like mini layouts before my area turns into a complete and utter travesty. But that's not the case when I'm scrapbooking Christmas and specifically the December project. I think it's because everything is right here and close, and I don't have to go around searching for things like I do in my normal scrapbooking. So everything just stays here. Nothing gets put away as I'm scrapbooking. Now, I decide to go with this tone-on-tone buffalo plaid, and I cut off the little deer at the bottom because I just think he's a little awkward looking, and I don't want the awkward looking deer in my album. But I love the tone-on-tone buffalo plaid. So I've lost the J, and I'm touching things. I'm looking on the back of my ATG because that's where it happens. I rub my sleeves, and then I think, oh, you know what? I bet you it stuck to the back of the paper pad. And sure enough, it was stuck to the back of the paper pad. So I have the word joy, and if you guys have seen, I think it was my day one, I talk about my kind of my motto for the month, and that is joy. So the things that I am talking about are going to be things that bring me joy. They're going to be things, and I'm going to explain a little bit of the why or give a little bit more insight this year than previous years. So I have that going on. And then I think, oh, green would be perfect behind here. I really like the green, but I don't like the words. Like I'm not feeling that. So I take this joy out, and I'm thinking about it a minute, and I'm like, do I want that joy, or do I want this pretty joy with the green? And then I'll figure something else out for the gold. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go with this joy. This was my original thought, my original plan, and I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good. I like how it has plaid in the J, and I've got plaid going on elsewhere on the page, so I'm like, yeah, this will work. So I have this scrap of paper here. This is a Paper House Productions piece of paper, and I just decide to go with it. Now, I don't measure. I just trim it out around my scissors, so it's not a perfect match, but that's okay. It's okay. I like the way it looks. I like the green underneath of it. I decided that the light color needed to be closer to the inside of the album, and the darker green with the gold needed to be on the outside. So we know that joy is going to go here, and I know that I'm going to do something with it, but I'm not exactly sure what yet. So I just go ahead and washi tape some of this down. I really like the black washi tape, and I think it's a great way to add like a little pop of black into your album. Even if you're not doing a more traditional colored album like I am, even if you're doing like the pinks, the teals, the bright reds, the neon greens, and that kind of thing, a touch of black just adds something to it. It really is just gorgeousness. So I take the inside and I make sure to add some adhesive on the transparency piece to the paper so that it sticks and then they're not just sitting on top of each other. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. I know that there's got to be something decorative. I know that my number's going to be here because my bottom piece, this 4x6 place, is going to have my journaling on it because I got a bunch to say. Now, I know that we're going to be talking about the Christmas baking, so I didn't know if I was going to tell a story about the baking at this point. I didn't know if I was just going to list what we had decided to bake. I didn't know if I was going to reminisce. I just didn't know what was going on, but I knew I had a lot of words inside of me that were dying to come out. I even have more words inside of me about the baking than actually came out on this page. So when we do the baking and we take the photos, I'll be talking more about the baking. And that's okay. If I'm going to be talking about baking twice in this album, that is fine. This is kind of just like the backstory of where the baking comes from and kind of how the joy of Christmas baking started for me. And then like what our plan is this year. So when I take pictures of us baking, it can be more of a this is what we baked kind of thing, like the actual who, what, where, when, why part of the story and not the emotional piece. And that's fine. So I decide on this plaid gift because, again, plaid, plus it's got the floral, and the floral matches the left-hand side of the page. And guys, I just love me some plaid all over the place, straight up and down, love me some plaid. So I am layering the sticker that is up on foam squares over top of this die cut with some pine cones and greenery. Because the greenery is throughout the entire album. I'm thinking about adding a gold 5 right there, but it kind of gets lost. So I decide I need a big black number 5. Actually, I was wishing I still had some of my red glitter Fitzgerald thickers because I would have loved a big old red glitter 5. But I decimated those bad boys, like used them all up. Now I am deciding to heat emboss the outside of this card here. And I didn't have the gold that I used earlier because it melted a lot better, and this gold just took forever to melt. I mean forever. So I'm not going to make you watch me melt it, but it's definitely reached the end of its shelf life, so I actually need to throw away that gold embossing powder. And as luck would have it, I found the gold embossing powder that I pulled for this project that works. So like I said, not going to make you watch me heat emboss that because it took forever and it didn't really smooth out like I wanted it to. It's still kind of lumpy and bumpy, but that's okay. So we go ahead and get the joy sprinkled down there. And then we're just making this happen. And I thought, do I want it to go up the page or do I kind of want it to just bounce across? And I decided to just make it bounce across. And I also decided to add a little gold epoxy arrow just to give it a little bit of something extra because there isn't a lot going on this card. It is just kind of the gold embossing and the words. So I felt like it just needed a little bit of something. But look, both cards are going into the pocket, so that means I'm finished with them. That doesn't mean I should say that doesn't mean I'm always finished with them. Sometimes I put cards into the pockets and they come back out and I add stuff or I take stuff away. But I'm happy with how it's looking. Like I'm happy with how this is coming up. So now I decide I've got this big old thing of black over here on this side of the layout, so I need to add some more black on this side because while I have the lines that I hand drew on there just needs to be a little darker touch of black. I decided I did not like the dots over on the left hand side of the page, so I bring them back over to the right hand side, and I'm happy with how that looks. Like it's making me happy. I've definitely got joy from creating this, so that whole, the theme is coming through loud and clear, I hope. And then I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the 4x6 card because I have no ideas. But that Merry Christmas 4x6 card I just think is absolutely gorgeous. Like it's gorgeous. So that'll go in my album. But not yet. Not yet because I have words to say. Lots of words to say. So I'm just kind of looking at this and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I really like this Christmas, this big bold Christmas down there. So I decide, okay, let me look for some papers. And I'm flipping through my Simple Stories 6x8 paper pad for something that doesn't have a large pattern on it, something that I can write on. And the only thing I really saw was the blue. And I do not want to pull in the blue on the album this year. Now, I did in 2015 have some of the blue, and I think in the other years too, but this year I really want to just be like traditional, especially because I have so many words to say. Like I have a lot to say for this album, and I just kind of want it to be more traditional, which is kind of what I am, I guess. I guess I'm kind of traditional. Now I have this small doily, and I'm thinking I can use this somehow. This words, it's like a tone on tone Christmas words, green on green, isn't exactly a 4x6, so I need to make it a little bit longer. So I decide to bring in some more of the black washi tape. So I grab a piece of paper that is also basically 6 inches long, and I put my washi tape over the top just to make sure that it covers, and then I'm just going to hand cut that off. And then I'm going to adhere it to my almost 4x6 green card to really make it, basically make it a card. And I'm looking at this to make sure it fits, and it will. So I add some adhesive down the side, and then I'm using my grid mat to make sure that I actually create a 4x6 card. So I adhere that bad boy right there, and then I add some adhesive to the back as well. Just some washi tape to cover up that join, and then I trim off the extra. And then I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, it's not exactly the same size now, is it? So I trim off the little bit of extra bit on the green, and then I'm going to add my white doily because I have a lot of dark going on down here, and I do have light throughout the page. So I'm just trying to figure out like where the doily should go compared to where the letters are on the page. And at first I think I'm going to put it on top, but then I really decide, hey, you know what? The doily should go underneath of this black border piece down here. So I carefully pick it up and then put the washi tape on top of it and then add some adhesive. And then I'm just going to trim off the doily so that it's not like hanging off the side anymore. And I know exactly where everything is going to be. And I'm like, yep, this will work. I'm liking how this is looking. And then I'm going to add on the Christmas letters. Now, I thought about cutting out Christmas and just placing the entire thing down and then peeling off the negative space. But I decided not to go that direction. I decided to individually place the letters because I figured I could get them a little bit closer than what it was here as they're stuck down on the page. So my journaling, I'm going to read that to you guys now. So lots of delicious treats on the list just this year to be baked. I truly love Christmas baking. There's just something special about it. Like you are truly, literally baking with a touch of magic. For me, the Christmas baking tradition started with my mom. I remember going to her house, spending the day in her kitchen, and storing all the goodies in Tupperware. These days, the goodies end up in metallic tins, but there is no less joy from reaching in to grab a little something tasty. This year, I'm baking a little later than normal. This way, Chloe and Lana can bake with me. So Chloe comes home on Friday, and we plan on baking on Saturday. We'll probably bake Sunday as well because, let's face it, I got a lot of baking to do. I bake a lot of treats for my work, and I bake a lot of treats for my husband's work, so all kinds of stuff to go on. I decide to layer on these baking thickers. It's actually supposed to be Baking Spirits Bright, but I figure I could use Spirits and Bright on something else. And I really liked the way Christmas baking looked. I felt like there needed to be something on top of the black washi, so I grabbed this washi tape that is from Paper House, and it says Merry Christmas in gold. It's over like a translucent white. So I put that on there. And then I'm going to write out the journaling that I just told you guys about. So there it is. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again real soon.